Good evening and welcome to the Board of Education meeting being held on Tuesday, October 21st, 2024. It is 5 o'clock, 2025, sorry. It's 5 o'clock and I'm calling the meeting to order right on time. Can we please call the roll?
Mrs. Arvanites?
Here.
Mrs. Assif?
Here.
Mrs. Troutman?
Here.
Dr. Henry?
Here.
Mr. Bresnahan?
Here.
Mrs. Hostler? Mrs. Lewinsky?
We have 5 board members present and 2 absent. Can we have a motion to go into closed session?
I move that the Board of Education move into closed session to discuss the placement of individual students in special education programs and other matters relating to individual students. 5 ILCS 122 C10.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mrs. Assaf, second by Mrs. Troutman. Can we please call the vote?
Mrs. Assif?
Yes.
Mrs. Troutman?
Yes.
Dr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Bresnahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Arvanites?
Yes.
Mrs. Hostler? Mrs. Lewinsky?
5 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent. Motion passes. The board will now move into closed session. Welcome to the Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting on Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. The time is 5:33, I believe. My eyesight is going bad. We have 7 board members present and 0 absent. At this time, I ask that we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, since we are in an open meeting, we are top public comments. I don't see anybody in the audience in Sultana or Kelly. I don't believe we collected any public comments, right? Okay, so we'll skip public comments and we'll go straight to reports and presentations. And for that, I will turn it over to Dr. Campbell.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is our first committee of the whole meeting for the 25-26 school year, in which we will share results from last spring's state and national assessment. We will also be analyzing various data that is included in the Illinois report card, as well as summative designations. Tonight's presentation and the committee work that we're doing here is just one part of a year-round cycle of data review in which we aim to guide you, the board, as well as our community towards a deeper understanding of the measures used to monitor progress and success of our schools. Tonight, we will focus on some data that is currently not available publicly, but will be on October 31st, in which it will be released in the Illinois report card on the Illinois ISB website. We also will be sharing some of this data at our State of the District, which is scheduled for next Thursday, October 30th. As a learning organization, we remain committed to continuous improvement efforts, and so tonight's presents an opportunity for the board to review some of the achievements from the 24-25 school year, reflect on the impact of some of those specific board governance actions, identify how those actions align to some of the results that we will see, and then just continue the discussion, as well as how we will continue to focus and align supports in alignment with our current 25-26 district-wide priority objectives. As always, I like to give a public announcement that growth isn't linear. So what does that mean? That means that growth doesn't always happen at a consistent pace or in a straight line. Instead, growth is unique, it's multidimensional, there's sometimes some learnings, there's some pauses, there's some plateaus, but one thing that is consistent is that everyone here tonight and across our entire school district works intentionally every day to continue learning, to continue growing, so that more students are meeting the rigorous goals that we've set out for them to meet. So there has been some changes to the Illinois school accountability. As we can see, that's highlighted on this graph. Last year, there were new tests. We moved to the ACT. This particular school year, which we will share, there were new proficiency benchmarks that were set. And then next year, there is an anticipation of a new accountability system. And so there is an anticipation of summative changes to how school designations are given, but that is still to be determined. And as soon as that information is shared by ISB, we will definitely share that with our board and our community. For this particular school year, our current summative designation formula has remained the same. I just want to give attention to, for our elementary and middle schools, that green box is around 25% English language arts growth, as well as 25% of school designations is also contributed to from the math growth. So for all of my math whizzes in the room, that is a total of what? all of my math whizzes in the room. It's not a trick question. That is thank you. There we go. There's 50% of school designations for our elementary and middle schools is consistent of growth. And then as you can see, what the other academic indicators as well as school quality and student success indicators are for both elementary and middle school. And then if you look down below, you will see that same distribution in terms of academic as well as school quality for our high schools.
So can I just clarify on that one, just so we're all on the same page? So you're saying that our designations in the elementary and middle school level is 50% of the designation is based on our English, arts growth, math growth?
Correct.
Compared to at the high school, those breakdowns are different.
There you go.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. And you can see at the high school, just for purposes, where do we see the largest? Yes. It's graduation. So graduation at the high school is worth 50% of school designations, okay? So because growth is such a significant weight in terms of the indicator for school designations, I just wanted to level set. Student growth percentile is not the same as percent. So this is not about 50% of students are meeting a certain threshold or benchmark. Percentile actually shows how much a student's achievement grew in 1 year compared to other students with similar scale scores, okay? So for student growth measures, 50% is considered that average growth. So students improved at the same rate as their academic peers that had a similar starting point. Scores above 50% show higher than typical growth, and then obviously on the on that little box there, we can see that scores at a 40 or lower is where there is some concern, okay? Later on in our presentation, we will share grade level growth percentiles for both IAR as well as ACT. For IAR, and one of the updates is there has been a unified alignment around there being 4 performance levels. And so now you can see previously there were 5, if you can see on that top bar, and now IASA as well as IAR has aligned to SAT, and so we now consistently see 4 performance levels across all 3rd through 8th grade state assessments. One of the updates that we shared previously is that there are new performance levels and proficiency benchmarks that correspond to post-secondary expectations. This new benchmarks, as you can see from the old benchmarks, let's look down at IAR, for example. Our older benchmarks had a standard cut score across all grades and across all content level. Now ISB has created some vertical and horizontal alignment from grade to grade, as well as across subject matters. This, per ISB, will now provide families and educators with more reliable and useful indicators of student readiness for college and career as they engage on their journey beginning at 3rd grade. Last, I would like to just share is that schools receive, all of this data is rolled up, and then schools are actually just put in a ranking from top to bottom in terms of where and how they have performed on those indicators as we saw in the pie chart. And then based on where schools land within that ranking, then a school designation is then provided. So schools that actually fall in either the top or the bottom, they are placed in those exemplary as well as or the intensive support, and then based on those other indicators can land anywhere in between. We just like to note that this is kind of similar, a moving target, if you will, because it can vary from year to year based on just various indicators in terms of how schools perform based on that pie chart that I showed earlier. So the school designations will not be shared tonight. As I mentioned, it will be shared at our State of the District, which is a little bit closer to the release. Actually, the day before ISB releases this information. And so just out of an abundance of caution of there being any potential, schools and districts are combing through this data and working with Illinois State Board of Education, we do not want to prematurely share any designations that might have the propensity to change. So therefore, we are going to wait a little bit closer to when this data is officially shared by the State Board of Education. So with that completes my overall just review tonight. I'm going to now pass the microphone to my colleague, Dr. Rubenstein, who's going to take us a little bit further.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. So I am going to just review some district-wide data, and then my colleagues, Katie Lyons and Carrie Leischel, are going to dive deeper into our data over time. So on this table that you see on the screen, it indicates the chronic absenteeism rates for each grade level in District 205 for each of the past 4 years. And over the past several years, as you all know, as we've talked about, there's been a national trend of increasing chronic absenteeism, and Elmhurst was not immune to that. But due to the focused actions of our leadership and teachers across the district and our strong partnerships with families and community, we saw reductions again in the levels of chronic absenteeism in the 24-25 school year. Our elementary schools, as we shared earlier, are now below the level of chronic absenteeism seen pre-pandemic, and we continue to focus our efforts on improvements at the middle school and high school levels. With that said, we are proud of the nearly 50% reduction in chronic absenteeism at York High School since the 22-23 school year. Leaders have continued to ensure that instruction is engaging and that students from all backgrounds feel safe and supported in our school programs. As more of their efforts and systems roll out again this year, we anticipate further reductions in chronic absenteeism at York High School. On this next slide is our beginning look at access for ELLs, which is the annual English language proficiency assessment used in Illinois and many other states across the country to measure how well emergent bilinguals are developing their skills in listening, speaking, reading, and writing in English. It's required by federal law, and it helps us to determine students' continued eligibility for English language supports and their progress towards exiting the program. There are two ways that we really look at these score reports. The first, which is on your screen right now, is to look at the proficiency levels of all students with an interest in seeing more students reaching higher proficiency levels. We're pleased to report that more students scored at the proficient level this year than in any previous school year, with 78 students meeting the benchmark to exit from EL services. Notably, York High School experienced an 8% increase year over year in proficiency levels. We continue to closely monitor the supports and services for our students with EL programming across the district to ensure that all students are supported appropriately. The next way that we look at our EL scores is what's called EL progress to proficiency, which is a measure of how quickly our students are growing in our EL programs. The state sets an individual growth target for every student based on how long they've been receiving English language services and their current proficiency levels. Progress to proficiency reflects whether a student is on track to reach full English proficiency within the expected timelines. So this measure is used to ensure that students are making steady and appropriate growth in their language development. It's not a pass or fail score. It's a progress measure that helps schools tailor instruction and determine the level of support each student needs to be successful. This year, we saw improvements in our progress to proficiency for our elementary and high school programs, and we continue to focus on supporting our middle school students in growth over time. Next, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Mrs. Lyons, who will help us to dive deeper into the scores for our Illinois Assessment of Readiness.
Thanks, Kevin. So just to frame this next section, I want us to note that for the Illinois assessment data in grades 3 through 8 for ELA, math, and science, historic scale scores were used to calculate proficiency rates based on 2025 benchmarks. So those were the adjustments that Dr. Campbell had previously shared. While this information is not reflected on the official ISB report cards, it provides valuable internal data for us, year-over-year analysis for our district and school improvement efforts and for that reflection. Additionally, unlike ISB's official reporting, our calculations include all D205 students who took the assessment, including EL newcomers. While this has minimal impact on overall proficiency rates, it also offers a more comprehensive view of student performance and progress across the district. So just a quick note on framing those slides as we move forward. As it relates to proficiency rates in English language arts for grades 3 through 8, as listed in the green bar graphs on the left side of your screen, D205 has demonstrated consistent upward momentum across both elementary and middle grade levels. In grades 3 through 5, the percentage of students meeting or exceeding proficiency increased steadily from 72% in 2022 to 77% in 2025, reflecting continued academic improvement and effective instructional practices. Grades 6 to 8 performance exhibited particularly strong growth, rising from 59% in 2022 to 78% in 2024, with that level sustained in 2025. This represents a 19 percentage point increase over 4 years, underscoring substantial progress in literacy outcomes at the secondary level. As it relates to growth performance listed on the right side of your screen, cohort growth percentiles provide additional evidence of positive student progress. For the 24-25 school year, growth percentiles ranged from 49 to 57 across grades 4 through 8, positioning D205 within the average to above average range. Grades 6 and 7 demonstrated the most notable improvement, increasing from 55 to 57 and 49 to 55 respectively. Grades 4 and 5 maintained stable performance at 54 and 52, while grade 8 showed a modest gain from 48 to 49. As Dr. Campbell mentioned, according to state benchmarks, a mean growth percentile of 50 plus or minus 3 is considered average, with scores above 54 classified as above average. D205's growth profile therefore reflects healthy academic momentum, particularly in the middle grades. Overall, district-wide ELA performance demonstrates a clear trajectory of improvement in both proficiency and growth. The steady increase in proficiency rates indicates that Tier 1 instruction is approaching the target benchmark of effectively meeting the needs of 80% of our learners. With 77 to 78% of students currently performing at or above proficiency, the district is nearing this critical threshold, signifying that core literacy instruction is increasingly strong and well-differentiated. These results reflect the impact of high-quality teaching, targeted supports, and sustained attention to student literacy learning outcomes across grade levels. ELA performance among specific student groups highlights areas of progress and continued opportunity for targeted instructional support. For emergent bilingual students, proficiency declined slightly from 30% in 2024 to 26% in 2025. While below district averages, this group continues to show growth in language acquisition, indicating that stronger integration of language development with Tier 1 literacy instruction will further support achievement. For students with IEPs, proficiency increased from 40% to 42%, reflecting steady improvement and the impact of inclusive practices and targeted interventions. For low-income students, proficiency decreased slightly from 46% to 43%. Continued focus on equitable access to high-quality instructional materials and differentiated supports remains key to accelerating progress. Overall, while proficiency rates for all three groups remain below the district average, highlighting the importance of differentiated Tier 1 ELA instruction, scaffolded language development, and consistent high-quality academic supports aligned to meet diverse learner needs will support acceleration. We'll transition to math proficiency and growth percentiles. Math proficiency continues to show positive and consistent improvement across grade levels, with notable gains in both elementary and middle school performance over the past 4 years. In grades 3 through 5, the percentage of students meeting or exceeding proficiency increased from 66% in 2022 to 75% in 2025, representing a 9 percentage point gain. This steady upward trend reflects ongoing refinement of core math instructional practices and materials. In grades 6 to 8, proficiency rose from 54% in 2022 to 63% in 2024, with that level maintained in 2025. This reflects a 9-point increase over time and sustained progress in deepening students' conceptual math understanding and elevating teachers' use of high-quality instructional materials and practices. As it relates to growth performance, cohort growth percentiles for math indicate above average performance in most grade levels, with particularly strong results in grades 4 through 6. Grades 4, 5, and 6 posted growth percentiles of 58, 59, and 61 respectively, all within or above the above average range, with grade 6 reaching the excellent threshold. Grade 7 reported a percentile of 55, consistent with above average growth, while grade 8 declined slightly from 52 to 49, but remaining within the average range. According to benchmark criteria, again as Dr. Campbell mentioned, a mean growth percentile of 54 to 60 is considered above average, and 60 is above is excellent. The district's math growth data therefore indicates strong overall progress and continued improvement, particularly within the elementary and lower middle grades. District-wide math results demonstrate steady and meaningful improvement in both proficiency and growth. The upward trend in proficiency, particularly in grades 3 through 5, suggests that Tier 1 instruction is increasingly effective and nearing the target of meeting the needs of 80% of our learners. With 75% of elementary students and 63% of middle school students currently demonstrating proficiency, the district is closing the gap towards that benchmark. These outcomes reflect the impact of focused instructional alignment, data-informed teaching, and a commitment to ensuring high levels of mathematical understanding for all students. Math performance among specific groups reflects both progress as well as continued need for targeted math support. For emergent bilingual students, proficiency declined slightly from 21 to 20% in 2025, while below district averages, students continue to strengthen foundational language and math reasoning. Embedding math language within Tier 1 instruction will support accelerated growth. For students with IEPs, proficiency rose from 34 to 35%, showing steady improvement tied to inclusive and differentiated practices. For low-income students, proficiency decreased from 30 to 28%, indicating stable yet slightly lower performance. Continued focus on equitable access to rigorous core instruction remains essential. Across groups, proficiency remains below district averages, underscoring the need to strengthen Tier 1 math instruction through integrated language supports, high-quality materials, and consistent academic interventions. And lastly, we'll highlight our science proficiency. Performance among specific, just jumped ahead. My apologies. The Illinois Science Assessment, or ISA, is administered in grades 5 and 8. Results reflect strong and consistent growth across both grade levels. In grade 5, proficiency increased from 60% in 2024 to 67% in 2025, continuing a steady upward trend and reflecting effective Tier 1 instruction that engages students in hands-on inquiry-based learning. In grade 8, proficiency rose from 65 to 70%, and the highest in 4 years. This improvement highlights strength and alignment of phenomena-based curriculum and literacy-rich science practices. Overall, science outcomes again show sustained district-wide progress with proficiency rates nearing the 70% mark. Tier 1 instruction is effectively meeting the needs of most learners and approaching our goal of 80% proficiency. With continued focus on inquiry-driven instruction, we will ensure equitable success for all students. And finally, performance among specific student groups in science shows stability, growth, as well as continued opportunity for targeted supports. For emergent bilingual students, proficiency remains steady at 9%. While below district averages, this stability provides a foundation for growth through stronger integration of language development and visual supports. We will increase our Tier 1 instruction. For students with IEPs, proficiency declined from 35 to 29%, indicating a need to strengthen accessibility and differentiation through hands-on, scaffolded, and co-taught learning experiences. For low-income students, proficiency increased slightly from 30 to 31, reflecting modest but positive progress toward closing achievement gaps. Overall, while district science achievement continues to rise, subgroup performance underscores the need for inclusive, inquiry-based Tier 1 instruction that integrates language development and differentiation. I will now hand it over to Carrie to highlight our data from York High School.
Great, thank you, Katie. As Katie mentioned, data we are sharing this evening, it was calculated internally to provide context to you all and then also be able to be used in school improvement efforts. And so just want to highlight that some of the data that you'll see will not be on the Illinois School Report Card, and we'll talk about that. This will close out our kind of large-scale data overview before we have a second to process. So first and foremost, as Dr. Campbell mentioned, last year was the first year that our high school students took the ACT as the state summative assessment in grades 9 through 11. Because of this, the state established benchmarks that were highlighted at the beginning of this presentation. This slide shows the percentage of students meeting both ISB and ACT benchmarks in ELA proficiency. Every student who takes the ACT receives an ELA score that is the average of the student's reading, English, and writing score for each of those tests. As seen in the green bar graph, the class of 2026 had 79% of students meeting the ISB benchmark of 18. The historical data that you'll see for years 22, 23, and 24 demonstrate the percentage of students who met the SAT equivalent on the evidence-based reading and writing assessment. From 2022, there has been a 13% increase in the percentage of students meeting ISB's new benchmark. If you remember from the SAT, ISB and College Board had different benchmarks. The same is true for ACT and ISB. On the right, in orange, is the percentage of students who earned a 20 on the ACT in ELA proficiency. ACT's college and career readiness benchmarks are the scores that represent the level of achievement required for students to have a 50% chance of obtaining a B in a credit-bearing college-level course or 75% chance of earning a C. We have populated SAT, EBRW data as well to see an increase in the percentage of students meeting proficiency in ELA of 10% since 2022. On Illinois School Report Card, what you will see is that 2025 green bar of 79%. Transitioning to proficiency across grade levels and growth in the high school. For the first time this year, ISB will also be publishing 9th and 10th grade proficiency rates. And so on the screen and the table on the left, you see the percentage of students who met ISB's benchmark in ELA for grades 9, 10, and 11, with approximately 84% of 9th grade students meeting, approximately 80% of 10th grade students meeting, and about 80% of grade 11 students meeting. Just for clarification, for summative designations, grade 11 proficiency is the only grade utilized in calculating for summative designation. Also, for the first time at the high school, ISB has calculated that average cohort growth percentile. So we don't have multiple years of this, but you will see in grade 9 and 10, we are meeting that above average growth with 54 and 56 respectively, and our grade 11 in ELA surpassing that 60 mark of excellent cohort growth. Lastly, for ELA, we also want to review specific student groups. On this slide, you can see an increase in proficiency in ELA proficiency for the 3 student groups highlighted. Our emergent bilingual students increased from 16 to 28% meeting proficiency, students with IEPs increasing from 40 to 45 reaching proficiency, and low-income students increasing from 31 to 41% meeting proficiency in ELA. This data demonstrates a steady upward trend and reaffirms the continued focus on language development, differentiated Tier 1 support, and access to high-quality instructional materials for all students as we continue to close opportunity gaps. We will now transition to math proficiency at the high school. And so the slide is set up similarly. On the left, in blue, is the percentage of students who met the ISB benchmark of 19 on the ACT Math section, with 67% of the students in the class of 2026 earning that score or higher. On the right, you will see the same data, but utilizing ACT's College and Career Readiness benchmark. This shows that 55% of students in the class of 2026 met ACT's benchmark of 2022, which is an increase from prior years. While we are encouraged by this trend, we also know there is work to do. Looking at math proficiency across grade levels and also growth, we see that the percentage of students in grades 9-11 who are proficient utilizing ISB's benchmark on the math section on the right. So 67% of students in grade 9, 56% of students in grade 10, and 68% of students in grade 11. On the right-hand side, you'll see those growth percentiles with a range of 54 to 59, all showing above average growth for each grade level. Lastly, when looking at math and looking specifically at student groups, we see a decrease in the percentage of emergent bilinguals and low-income students meeting the math benchmarks and an increase in the students with IEPs meeting the benchmark. This data continues to be an area of focus for teams and ensuring that our programming and Tier 1 differentiated supports are meeting all our students' needs. Lastly, for ACT data, we will continue to science. You will only see 1 year of science data because this is the first year taking the ACT science test, and they do not produce ISA to ACT concordance tables. So we're only able to look at this year's data. You can see that utilizing ISB's benchmark, 76% of students in grade 9 met the threshold, 74% met the grade 10 threshold, and 77% of grade 11 students met the ISB threshold of a 19 on the science assessment. The shaded purple bar, 4th row on the last portion of that table on the left demonstrates the percentage of students meeting the ACT College and Career Readiness benchmark of 23 at about 55%. Lastly, on the right-hand side of this, you will see that our emergent bilinguals and students with IEPs and low income are below the district average. Closing these opportunity gaps remains a continued focus across content and grade levels. Transitioning to other metrics, we're going to start with composite graduation rate, which is the largest portion Dr. Campbell highlighted of York's summative designation, accounting for 50% of the overall score for York. This number is calculated by weighting the 4-year graduation rate at 50%, 5th-year graduation at 35%, and 6th-year graduation at 15%. As you can see on the graph presented, we had a slight increase in our composite graduation rate. As a reminder, our students who participate in the Transition Center partnership with the College of DuPage are not included in the graduation rate until they accept their diploma. However, this year ISB will be identifying the percentage of our students who are continuing with an IEP in that type of programming, where before they were just viewed as non-graduates. Next, we have Freshmen on Track, which is just over 8% of York's summative designation score. Students identified as on track have earned at least 5 full-year course credits and have earned no more than 1 semester F in a core course. Freshmen on Track is a key predictor of high school success, as students who finish the 9th grade year on track are almost 4 times as likely to graduate from high school as students who are not on track. York's Freshmen on Track in the 24-25 school year was 98%. This is an increase from prior years. Although not an ISB indicator, an important data point that we review is the percentage of students taking an AP exam, the total number of AP exams taken, and those who pass an exam. York had a total of 1,909 exams completed last spring, with 89% of those exams earning a score of a 3 or higher. This increase in the percentage of exams administered and passed demonstrates that more students are accessing and demonstrating proficiency on college-level coursework. Lastly, we will look at the percentage of students from York High School that enrolled in a 2 or 4 year college within 16 months of graduation. This is not an ISB indicator, but is shared on the school report card. So you'll see that we're looking at the class of 2023 because 16 months have to pass for us to be able to access this data. This data comes from the National Student Clearinghouse for Higher Education Enrollment and the ISB Student Information System for high school graduation. Clearinghouse captures data from more than 95% of institutions nationwide, and its data is commonly used across states. For the class of 2023, there was an increase in the percentage of students enrolling in college within 16 months and the highest percentage in the last 4 years. I'll now pass it back to Dr. Campbell to facilitate some processing.
Thank you so much to my colleagues, Dr. Rubenstein, Ms. Leishel, as well as Ms. Lyons for sharing. I'm sure our brains are full right now of a lot of data and a lot of information. So we're going to just pause before we go into our next section and just allow you just to process a little bit of what you have heard. We have a timer. I'm going to give us about a 5-minute processing time within our table groups, and then we'll come back together and just kind of share some of those highlights out. Okay? we're going to come back together. So can I just have can I have each table share out one celebration, and then I'm going to have each table share out one maybe thought or wondering in terms of next steps. And Sultana, can you take notes for us? Make sure you capture this, okay? So do I have a table that will start off with just sharing one celebration? Thank you, Dr. Henry.
Might as well take the easy ones, right? Okay, so we are celebrating over here on the IAR math and ELA proficiency increases we've seen over the last 4 years.
Excellent. Thank you. Just
getting right to the point
get
here.
right to it. Thank you. Ms. Troutman, you want to share a celebration?
I'll share the celebration. It makes me very happy to see the continued increase in the number of students taking AP classes at York, and not only taking the classes, but taking the exams and passing the exams to get them additional or jump on college credits for when if they choose to go to college. So I love seeing that trajectory continue to improve.
Excellent. Then our last table, celebration.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about, kind of the big shift that happened last year in our middle schools around adding more minutes to science and social studies year-round, which then, inadvertently reduces minutes in math and ELA. But when you look at the eighth grade scores, you see that students perform the same for math and ELA, but you see the science scores shoot up. And even though, and remember, data's a point in time, and so that I think is a big win, that we didn't see a decrease when we decreased minutes, because that was a wonder for people in this room when we made that decision. And I'm just very pleased to see that those stayed flat, math and ELA, even though kids were experiencing other content more, and look at the benefit it drew out for students. So we talked a little bit about that next phase of now, okay, going back and looking at math and ELA and that curriculum and that transition to fewer minutes in instruction, and then how do we start to see that trajectory again? So again, very big kudos to the staff, the middle school. That's a huge undertaking, and to see the students benefiting from that decision is just really, really phenomenal.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. I know that there were a plethora of celebrations to share, but I appreciate you all elevating those three in the room. Moving right on to a next step or a wondering. Let's go reverse. So can we start off with that table? Was there a next step or a wondering?
This is just, I'm asking Carrie if this is okay, sorry. Like, Carrie, do I have your blessing? No, I'm kidding. So, data, right? It's numbers, we're looking at this every year. We're looking at numbers, not people. And I think we have to always remember how students play a role in their own learning. But in this moment, we're looking at strictly numbers. So I'm keeping students and teachers out of this kind of wonder that I'm going to put out there, or maybe a piece of the data that stood out to me a little bit. So when we look at the high school and the ACT information or data, and we're looking at number of students proficient above in all of these three items or categories. It's ELA, it's math, and it's science. We're seeing strong performance indicators in ELA and science. Those numbers are in the 70s. We even got an 80 in there. And then in math, they're a bit more flat than that, or lower. And so it just looks like an opportunity to a wonder to look into of why that might be, or what we can be doing to help students have the similar experience in the math proficiency that they're seeing in science and ELA, because we know they can do it. They've proven to us they can do it. And so they can do it across the board, not just in two of the three. So that was our kind of
Excellent,
let you
really
just-
appreciate that and well stated. Let's come to our next table. It's us, okay, thank you. Thank you. Mhm.
Okay, all right. We build consensus on our wonder. No. Yes. The instructions were not clear to us, despite your best efforts. No, I think one of the things that we noticed is that students with IEPs tended to do better than those with emergent bilinguals or low income. So just, in terms of next steps, really wanting to focus on those particular groups
For ACT.
for, yep, now you got to pick a
While
new
they're
one.
finding another, Nikki, can I add something to
Yes,
that?
please do.
And I think the people in this room that have been here for 4 and 5 years now, I remember the donut presentation, Kevin. Yes, I'm looking at you. And that was when we were talking about laser focusing on our subgroups at the time. And Nikki, that observation that your table came up with, I think is a strong one, a good one. It is an outcome of where we've been and then where we're going, and it's okay. We're in a continuous improvement. We need to keep doing this, right? And so I think it's still on the docket. Has it gotten better? Yes. Is it where we want it to be? We've got work to do.
Okay, and our last group, wondering,
Table 2 had a great response, so I have to find a new one. No. We looked at the science that stood out the most, and that it was 9%, and we were just wondering, how can we reach those students a little more? Oh, sorry, for the bilingual IEP, low-income students.
excellent, thank you. Thank you all so much for engaging in that reflection process. We're going to move on to have an opportunity to kind of dig a little bit deeper in some school-specific level data. We're as you might, those that were here last year recall, that each table group looked at the elementary feeder schools into an elementary school, and of course we know all roads lead to York, and you explored that summative designation from that lens. Today, we're going to highlight some of the designations data for elementary schools that feed into a middle school and ultimately York, and all table groups will be looking at the same schools. We felt that it was really important to highlight the importance of improvement efforts over time. And that we understand and know and continue to elevate, which also Athena just mentioned, that it is a multi-year approach that leads to the work. And so the work that we're doing at the elementary school, this was also mentioned at our table by Nikki, that leads into the experience that we set students up for at middle school and the experience of students have in middle school, thinking about how that translates into the high school. And so it is multi-year approach and strategy to our improvement efforts. And so we thought that it would be really helpful for us to look at the data in that way today. So we're going to go through a very similar process that we've gone through before, which is through 3 phases. And then after the 3rd phase, I will pass the mic to Athena for us to do a quick wrap up. Okay? All right. We're going to start off with our first.
So just to orient to the materials that are in front of us, we have a note catcher. It is a front and a back that will walk us through the phases. And we tried to just kind of provide more clarity, a little bit of a fence around each of the phases to guide our work. And so the first phase that Dr. Campbell will lead us through is just what facts do you see. So you see the phase 1 as your first listed in your graphic organizer. So if you want to find that in your folder and make sure to have that note catcher in front of you as a table. And we'll have 5 minutes to capture some information in that phase. And then we'll do a 2-minute share out. So you'll see 2 timers on the slide. Rudy's very thankful for bouncing back and forth. And then you're gonna see 5 sets of data, 3 for elementary, 1 for middle, and 1 for high school. They're individually stapled. You're going to see summative designation data for each of those 6 schools, 5 schools, I apologize. You'll see proficiency data, as that's really important for us to also look at. We know summative designation, as Dr. Campbell mentioned, 50% is based on growth and graduation rate, so we also want to look at proficiency. And then we will also take a look at one component of the 5 Essentials survey, which is the supportive environment domain. And so we thought that these 3 pieces of data for each school really provide a comprehensive understanding of the nuanced approach to a multi-year school improvement effort. So we don't just look at summative designation, we look at proficiency, we look at 5 Essentials to give more of a total look at school improvement efforts. You'll also see 2 or 4 years of data to provide a more holistic picture for you.
Thank you. So we will begin with our first guiding questions. What facts do you see in the data?
When you say the data, are we looking at the proficiencies or the 5 essentials? Any, either?
Yeah, all of it.
Whatever I want to talk about.
Yep.
try to get to space two. So Jackson math proficiency at 79 and Brian math at 60.
Okay, team, due to time, we're not going to report out, but I think there is a tendency to move from the actual facts of what you see into what the data suggest. So we're just going to slide on into phase number two, because I think many of us just happen to do that anyway. Okay, so again, this is where we're now able to say, based on the facts, what does the data suggest? Okay, so let's make sense of what the data says and why, and try to begin to articulate some various interpretations or possible evaluations against what we are seeing.
About the proficiency, Jackson is the only one in math that's not above 80%.
So Jackson, Brian,
Brian,
and York.
well, York neither are above.
So Jackson, Brian, and math are below 80%. Jackson's just right there at 79, but everywhere else we're at 80%, except for York ELA just slightly below at 79. So,
At ELA. Right.
but everybody.
60. So now, team, we're going to move into our last phase 3, which is our trends, our themes, and considerations. So this is where we've now taken our facts and our analysis to translate that into potential future considerations or next steps. You can start the clock at 5 minutes. Yeah, so thank you all so much for engaging in this rigorous data conversation. I'm going to now pass to our board president to kind of just give a wrap-up and reflections on the work.
Sure, and I'll just start by saying, thank you to the team. Again, this is and I think we all feel it on this day every year. We can dive so deeply into the data and really learn about our school, our students, our staff, our efforts as educators, and working within a community. So thank you for embracing this work and constantly showing us how to measure what we're doing and how we're doing it. So just for the board members, we'll wrap up by thinking about how our work, this is how we always wrap this up, how our work connects to this work. And I think throughout our dialogue and our reporting out from our groups, we heard some of that. But any thoughts from board members about either what we're focusing on now, what we have accomplished or decided or focused on in the past that we're seeing play out? And then are there any other areas that we should be focusing on moving forward now that we are seeing the most recent kind of state of the district? Sure. Yes, please.
I love this meeting every year. It is actually my favorite committee of the whole meeting because it really does use data to show exactly how impactful our actions are. We're either succeeding or we're not succeeding. And there is a lot to celebrate about what is happening in our buildings. But as we, because we're all perfectionists and we want the best for our students, everyone in this room and in our community do, I think there's a lot of things that this data shows that we can narrow in our focus to improve upon. I think the data shows the things that at our board table and in our committee meetings we have talked about over and over again, where we want to see the focus and improvement, and this data shows it. And I appreciate so much you guys doing this deep dive into it with us, because it reinforces that, the board members, our voices are being heard by you guys, which means that you are all focusing on what's best for our students. So I truly appreciate it. I think the data supports everything you've heard from us as a board, and I know that I have confidence that you're going to keep digging and pushing in the right direction for everything that's best for our students. So thank you.
Beth? Sure.
We were just talking a lot about all the work that's been done over time and all of the curricular additions and resources and adjustments and professional development. I mean, just a ton of work that's been done across the district that is showing great success, and we can see that it's impacting our students positively. Being a unit district, just remembering that we have students that have had exposure to all of those changes. We have students that have had exposure to some of them, and we have students that have had haven't had the opportunity to have exposure to as many of them, just because where they fall in the unit district. And just that our teams are working so hard to meet our students where they are at as we continue to progress through that process. And pretty soon, all of our kids will have exposure to all of those resources. But we're able to really identify those things being a unit district and meet those students where they're at and offer more resources where needed. So it's just something we talked a lot about at our table.
Thank you, Beth. Any other thoughts? In closing, I'm seeing a lot of no's. We've said it all? Okay, well, as we kind of move into our work for the next year as a board, we, of course, refer back to our 6 foundational principles. I think many of us can look at those principles and see how this work is coming into fruition today and can be proud about where we are as a district and who we have here working on behalf of our kids and for our community. So thank you so much for tonight. I think we'll close out with that. It is 6:57. I'll mention our next meetings at our in about a few minutes after our public Board of Education regular meeting. So thank you all. It's 6:57. We'll adjourn our committee of the whole now. Welcome, hello. This is the Board of Education meeting being held on Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:02 PM. The Board of Education was in closed session at 5 PM for the items listed on this agenda, and then moved into our open committee of the whole meeting. So we were in closed session from 5 to 5:30. We opened our committee of the whole meeting at 5:32-ish, off the top of my head. Thank you, 5:33 PM, and then commenced at 6:57 from Committee of the Whole. Now we are opening our regular Board of Education meeting. Can we please call the roll?
Mrs. Arvanites?
Here.
Mrs. Assif?
Here.
Mrs. Hassler?
Here.
Mrs. Troutman?
Here.
Dr. Henry?
Here.
Mrs. Lewinsky?
Here.
Mr. Bresnahan?
Here.
Thank you. 7 board members present, 0 absent. I don't have my agenda really quick. Hang on, sorry. There we are. We will, all right, thank you. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, so we're starting out our board meeting with our spotlights and recognition. We have one spotlight and recognition, and it's been a joy to see the pictures on social media in celebration of Principal Appreciation Week. Thank you, sorry. And so I just wanted to extend from the board, on behalf of the board, a sincere thank you to all of our principals throughout our district and our assistant principals, I will loop them into this group too, who work tirelessly to bring their best every day, to work with our students, to partner with parents, and to really provide an educational environment where our children in Elmhurst can thrive. And thank you for that work, that dedication. Education is an ever-evolving industry. It's not an easy one to be in. And at times it can feel pretty overbearing, but we always remember the highlights, the smiles, and the hugs when we've had an impact on children's lives. So thank you for all the work that you do and effort you provide your local communities and the district. I will read the proclamation from my seat, not the podium, if I can. So this is the proclamation from the state of Illinois. Whereas school principals play an integral role in nurturing a positive student-centered culture in elementary, middle, and high schools across the state of Illinois, and whereas school principals are responsible for attracting and retaining the best teachers and support staff to ensure that each child receives equitable education opportunities and services to reach their potential. Whereas it is the primary responsibility of the state of Illinois to provide adequate and equitable resources for schools so that all students have access to quality education and foundation for a successful future. The Illinois Principal Association, which represents over 6,900 educational leaders statewide, believes that educators' experiences and voices are essential to crafting effective educational policy. And the Illinois Principal Association is committed to developing, supporting, and advocating for innovative educational leaders through high-quality professional development, networking opportunities, and legislative advocacy. And school leaders face many obstacles in supporting and educating our young people. It is through their perseverance, passion, and hope-filled leadership that Illinois continues to produce quality, career-ready students. And whereas we must continue to encourage, support, and recognize our school principals who have a positive impact on Illinois students and the educational system in the land of Lincoln. Therefore, and I am not him, but this is coming from our governor, J.B. Pritzker, governor of the state of Illinois, hereby proclaims October 19th through 25th, 2025 as Principals Week, and October 24th as Principals Day in Illinois. And there is a recognition for principals and the IPA for all that they do to help our children. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being there and showing up every day. A round of applause. Just kidding. Thank you, Courtney. Appreciate that. All right. Item 4 is public comments. Do we have public comments tonight? We have one public comment tonight. Okay. So, give me 1 second. The public comment section of the board meeting provides an opportunity for community members to share information and perspectives with the Board of Education. And while the board does not respond during public comments, we are listening and thoughtfully considering the messages being shared. Each of us have high expectations for our community and ask that public comments are respectful and do not mention individuals by name. The way in which we publicly engage when sharing differing perspectives is an opportunity to model healthy and respectful discourse for our students and the greater community, while creating an environment of collaboration and partnership. We will have up to 30 minutes. The Secretary, Ms. Assaf, will give you 3 minutes per speaker and will give us a 30-second notice when you're approaching 3 minutes. So I'll turn it over to Kelly.
Sarah Jensen.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate all that you guys do, and I am definitely speaking from a voice of collaboration. I am also a teacher. I've been involved with REACH forever. I've sat on the strategic planning committee, and I'm here to speak as a concerned parent about math at York. My twins are juniors, and for the last 2+ years, I have tried to advocate, and math continues to be their once best subject, probably their lowest scoring subject. And as juniors who are getting ready now to apply to colleges, one of my kids is going to play water polo in colleges, so we've already started the discussions with a lot of very elite schools. And the concern that that I have, and I speak on behalf of a lot of other, I think, parents in the district at York, is just the amount of effort that's being put into math and the grades that are coming back. So, you know, doing homework, showing up at class, participating, heading to math lab, getting resources from your teacher, peer tutoring, external tutoring. It's so much work and such a lack of confidence in a lot of these kids for the effort that they're getting, or for the grades that they're getting back. I would really, I guess, ask you guys as the leaders of this community to really look at what's happening in the math and do a deep dive. How many students by subject, by teacher, have grades that are C's and below? How many of these kids are doing retakes? What is the percentage? That to me is an indication of not understanding material. I don't know if it's curriculum. I don't know if it's instruction. I don't know if it's teacher. That's not my area of expertise, but something is broken. I'm not sure what it is, but something is. I guess I would ask, like, the grading and the rubrics. Is it too hard? Are the rubrics too limiting? Last year, you know, it wasn't until January that you could even get a B or a D. It was either an A, a C, or an F. That affects your overall grade point averages. And these colleges are telling us it's not just the courses that you take. The first screening is your GPA. If you do an AP class and you get a 5 on your AP, but you get a C in that class, they're not even looking at that 5 yet because they're looking at that GPA. So
30 seconds.
I'm just imploring you to have a look at that. Do we have ample and adequate time for relearning and reteaching? Where is the small group instruction coming into the class to help the kids that are getting the C's, the D's, and the lower? It's gone for anything. My kids are in AP Calc AB as juniors, one of them, and the other one is in pre-calc. And there is no intervention anymore. It's only happening at the lower grades. But yet these are the kids who are about to apply to college.
3 minutes.
So I'm here to help. Where's the bell curve? You know, all those things. There's a group of us who are, you know, very involved parents, but we just need somebody to take a look at this. We've tried many, many times. So that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for taking the time to voice your concern and perspective with the Board of Education. As you know, common practice of the board is to follow up with public commenters after the board meeting as needed. So we'll talk soon. Thank you. Yep. That's it, Kelly?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Item 5 on our agenda, public hearing is taking place. which only takes place when specific items are assigned to public hearing, and this is one of them. Today, we have the public hearing on concerning the intent of the board to sell the $8.5 million in working cash bonds to increase the district's working cash fund, and $15 million in school fire prevention and safety bonds to pay the costs of certain school fire prevention and safety projects. We are now formally declaring this hearing open at 7:12 PM. Joe, if you can give us an overview of the item for the hearing.
Thank you very much. And this hearing is a continuation of conversations we've had in August and September surrounding some of the needs that we have in the district in order to achieve our goals financially. Those goals center around the element of creating and sustaining our three major components of the educational system: high-quality student programs, high-quality facilities, and stable financial structures. This hearing talks about two different financial options available to us, both unique but financially similar in the way that they are issued. The first phase is the debt service extension base. This type of bond allows school districts to access funds equivalent to the principal and interest payments set in 1994 and adjusted for inflation. At this time, we have debt service extension base bonds that are nearing a close, and this is an opportunity for us to continue accessing those debt service extension base funds without an increase in the tax rate. The purpose of accessing these debt service extension base funds would be to maintain a stable financial structure. You can see here over the last 6 years, our low point, which takes place shortly before May 31st, before we receive our first round of property tax payments. You can see that it has declined over the last 6 years. Part of that is an investment in the an additional scope on the referendum that was passed in 2018. But you can see at its lowest point this past May, we reached a point of about $4.5 million, which is still in a safe zone, but we want to provide additional funds to make sure that we can financially sustain our high-quality educational programs and our high-quality facilities. These working cash bonds would be accessed through this debt service extension base, or DSEB bonds, and those would be issued. We have to specify for a specific purpose, and so the purpose of these funds would be to support the $4 million capital project work items that we identify every spring. We would use that over the next 2+ years so that we can use the other operating funds to support our high-quality educational programs. The second component of this bond hearing is centered around our life safety work items. Every 10 years, the school district goes through a process with our architects to identify items at every single one of our schools that are identified as needs to address the life safety necessities of our buildings. We conducted that in 2024, and we affirmed those life safety items in late August, and those have been submitted to the Regional Office of Education, which have now been updated by the regional office. They have removed some items. Most of the items that have been removed are Category C items. There are specific requirements in order for it to be considered Category C. Just to recap what these categories mean. Category A are items that must be addressed in the first 12 months because they are urgent life safety needs within our schools. Category B items need to be completed within the next 5 years, and those are elements that are required because we want to ensure the safety of all students and staff in our buildings. Category C are recommended items that are not required for any school district to complete. However, these are recommendations in order to improve the life safety of our schools. One of those components is energy savings, which some of these items that were removed because they don't meet the threshold of energy savings, even though they would capture some energy savings. So in August, we estimated the total cost of all A, B, and C items to be just over $30 million. With those adjustments, the updated cost is just over $20 million at this time. In order to support the work of completing that $20 million worth of projects over the next 5 years, because the majority of these items are now category A and B items, we want to look at it from the scope of the next 5 years. We are recommending the issuance of life safety bonds of approximately $15 million. That amount could change slightly based off of the rate that we are able to achieve through our bonding process. By coupling our DSEB bonds with life safety bonds, this would allow us the opportunity to achieve completing many of those life safety projects. About 71% of them can be achieved by these life safety bonds. The remaining amount of life safety work items would then be invested through our annual $4 million capital project list. So approximately $1.2 million per year would be invested towards those additional life safety items through our annual capital projects. The reason why we are bringing it forward for $15 million plus the approximately $8.5 million of DSEB bonds is it creates a tax rate that remains relatively flat to what our community is currently paying. So you can see the tax rate is expected to remain the same as our current levels. And to demonstrate that, this is a really hard chart to see, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. But this breaks down our DSEB bonds in the middle of the screen and our life safety bonds on the right-hand side of the screen. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit by showing it to you this way. These are our life safety bonds, which would be paid over the next 10 years, which is the life of this 10-year life safety survey. And you can see on the far right side, it would result in approximately the same amount of debt service payment to the average $500,000 house compared to what those community members are paying right now. We do have existing DSEB bonds that are expiring, so we also wanted to represent what that payment difference would be between what the current schedule is and what the new payment would be. And you can see that difference in those parentheses, the second column from the right. So there is an increase from not doing anything. However, the current tax rate that they're paying and the current amount that they're paying for debt service would remain relatively flat. Even if the property tax value increases or decreases, it's important to point out that if the value of someone's home moves in relation to the community around them, that property tax payment towards debt service would remain relatively the same. We gave these examples of an increase of 5% across all home values across the community. Another one where the property values dip, where they're still paying approximately $702. And then all home values increasing 20%. It still remains that the tax rate would drop significantly, which then in turn, because the property values are increased, would offset that lower tax rate and would be about the same amount in terms of a payment. The timeline for this process, there is no action to be taken tonight. We are in the middle of a 30-day petition period, but we would recommend that we bring this forward on November 18th for the board to approve a bond resolution for both the working cash bonds and the life safety bonds. Once approved, we can then close that bond issue. Before November 18th, in fact, next week, we will be working with with Raymond James in securing our bond rating. That will determine the interest rate in which we can secure these bonds, and then we can finalize the exact amount that we can issue these bonds for while keeping the tax rate the exact same. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Joe. I don't think there's any public comments, but are there any public comments related specifically to this public hearing, the sale of 8.5 million in working cash bonds and the 15 million in school fire prevention and safety bonds? Seeing none, I do also want to note before we close the hearing that the board has had significant dialogue around this concept that we're having a public hearing about tonight. We've had finance committee meetings. We've had a consultant come in. We had Elizabeth Hennessy help us out with understanding the impact on the community. And just want to reiterate that the $700 they're paying today remains essentially the same with the sale of the bond in the future. I just want to make sure that was clear. Okay, so with that, we will say the hearing, since there are no public comments, we are declaring the hearing closed at 7:23 p.m. Next is the approval of the regular board meeting minutes from September 23rd, 2025. Are there any changes to the meeting minutes? Seeing none, the meeting minutes stand as presented. And then the approval of the closed session minutes from September 23rd, 2025. Those meeting minutes stand as presented. Item 8 on our agenda is, item 7 on our agenda is the 2026-27 course proposals. We'll turn that over to Ms. Lyons.
Okay, thank you. So in accordance with Policy 640, Curriculum Development, new courses are presented to the Board of Education and Community in the fall for adoption before being implemented the following school year. The course proposals for school year 2026-2027 are planned for presentation tonight as a report, and then they will become a consent agenda item at the November 18th, 2025 meeting. For school year 26-27, one course is presented for adoption in the course of study at D205 York Community High School. There is also one requested shift from a current year-long course to a semester-long course, as well as 2 updates to the naming conventions of current courses for next school year. The following course is proposed as a new course for the 26-27 school year. Recreational Games for Life. This proposed new course will be offered by current York High School staff with no additional sections anticipated. Recreational Games for Life will replace the current course Dance Fitness. Shifting the focus of the course to Recreational Games for Life expands opportunities for students to engage in multiple recreational games and physical activities that can be carried into adulthood, such as pickleball, badminton, volleyball, kickball, eclipse ball, disc golf, ultimate frisbee, and cooperative team building games. This variety increases the likelihood of sustained participation in this course. And the recreational games will emphasize inclusivity for all skill levels, cooperative and social interaction, and lifelong physical activity habits. Additionally, this course change aligns more effectively with the philosophy and core tenets of physical education as a foundation for lifetime wellness, rather than as a narrow focus on one fitness domain, such as was with the previous course or current course, Dance Fitness, which we are presenting will be replaced with Recreational Games for Life. The following course offered at York High School is proposed as a shift from a year-long course to a semester-long course, Manufacturing 2H, or 2 honors. Manufacturing 2H will shift from a year-long course to a semester-long only course. Manufacturing 1 is already a semester-long course, so shifting Manufacturing 2H to a semester-long course will provide a year-long sequence. This will also provide students the opportunity to complete the manufacturing sequence in one school year if they choose. Additionally, this shift will provide career and work-based learning opportunities to more students, particularly students with constrained schedules, such as students with IEPs and/or language needs. By changing the course to a semester-long course, students will have 2 opportunities to enroll, allowing for more flexibility and options in scheduling. And then the following two courses currently offered at York High School are proposed as name changes only for the 26-27 school year. Functional Skills is the current course name, and the proposed course name is Functional Life Science. Vocation is the current course name, and the proposed course name is Life Science of Vocation. So recommendation is provided for the Board of Education to approve the following at the November 18th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. One new course for 26-27, one current year-long course shifting to a semester-long course, and two current course name changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Any questions or comments from the board? Beth?
I just wanted to say that I appreciate the shift to the semester-long course in manufacturing. I think that it's always a struggle for kids to be able to take more electives or to, try out different course content. And I think sometimes by the time they find like a course they really like, they realize, oh, I'm not going to be able to take any more courses in this area because I don't have enough time. So this gives them more time to be able to complete more courses in an area that they might find interesting. And so I like that shift. So thank you for digging into that.
Anyone else? Courtney?
I actually have one question for each of the courses. Sorry, they'll be easy, I'm sure. All right, so can I start with the functional life science and science of vocation? When I was reading the overview of the request, is it correct for me to understand that the students in the multi-needs program who are taking these courses did not receive science credit towards their diploma under the functional skills and vocation class, but will now receive it under the life science and science of vocation class?
They have received science credit. This is really a
Well,
renaming.
different than the certificate though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so this is really a renaming of a course to better align with what's actually happening in their classrooms, as we have worked over the last 2 years to make sure that each of those students has a 4-year plan in place that will allow them to access all of those credits.
So this is not adding opportunities for credits, it's just maintaining the same opportunities to receive science high school diploma credits.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you. All right, next one. And I completely agree with what Beth said about the changing it to a semester. About the manufacturing class. My question is, when the first manufacturing is manufacturing 1 and then you go to 2H, how does that transition for a student going from a regular level class to an honors level class? And will everybody who successfully passes manufacturing 1 be able to take 2H?
So to answer the second part, everyone that completes Man 1 will be eligible to take Manufacturing 2 honors. I think that that's a really great push for us to explore what does that transition look like in terms of the jump of how successful are students going from 1 to 2H. So it's something that I can report back on. I'd like to gather some more information from Bill Leck and the team, but that's great, to a good nudge for us.
Yeah, so I just don't want the level of rigor to dissuade a student from taking 2. That's all. So I'm just curious as to what that looks like now. And then the last one about the gym class. So, I'm assuming that enrollment has decreased in the fitness class for dance only, and therefore we're looking for ways to bring our students into different physical education programs. Is that accurate assumption?
That's absolutely accurate.
Okay.
Yes.
And so now this is just a general thing, a general, I don't know, not concern, question of mine. Do we poll students at the high school to say, if we are taking away this physical education opportunity, what would you like to see in a program that would meet the graduation needs for a physical education credit? I was just curious to see if we're asking students what they want to see in these classes when we make these kind of changes.
So I can definitely get more information for you about if we polled students. I know there was a lot of teacher input based off of historical practice, enrollment, and interest. I think that it was mostly from the teacher perspective, but I'd like to follow back up in the November consent agenda item just to share more once I get that for you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I just I just want to comment on that. I agree with Courtney because I just feel like, I don't want to speak for students, but I feel like a lot of kids take dance because they maybe don't want to do some of those sport-oriented type classes, ball type classes, yeah. And so, you know, I would just wonder if that's, you know, if there were other options within that new course, maybe a section of it is dance or something like that, you know, for those that maybe don't want to do those other types of athletic type classes.
Yep, thank you. I can definitely share more when we come back together next month. Thank you.
Anything else on the course proposals for 26-27 school year? Okay, we'll move on to item number 8, the consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Seeing that no one has anything to pull, can we have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
I move that the Board of Education approve the following consent agenda items: A, personnel reports; B, financial reports; C, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests.
I'll second.
Henry won. Motion made by Ms. Assaf. Dr. Henry won. Second by Dr. Henry. She won, sorry. Please call the vote.
Mrs. Assaf?
Yes.
Dr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Bresnahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Hostler?
Yes.
Mrs. Troutman?
Yes.
Mrs. Arvanites?
Yes, 7 ayes, 0 nays, motion passes. Item 9 is a agenda action item, authorization to secure natural gas fixed price. I think this is going back. Yes, go ahead,
Yes, it
Joe.
is. So last month, we heard from Becky Thompson from NINEA Energy Advisors. We did approve a partnership with NINEA. We have done some initial exploration of natural gas rates, and this is an opportune time. In fact, we've seen energy prices uptick just a little bit over the last couple of days. The parameters around securing natural gas costs for a longer amount of time is we have 24 hours from the time that an RFP is issued to accept that, because the energy rates change so quickly. So we cannot bring to you a rate within that 24-hour time frame for you to accept. So what we are asking is that you authorize the business office to secure a rate that is acceptable to the board ahead of time, and we would bring that to you for acceptance the following month. By doing this, we can take advantage of the ebbs and flows of the market. We are closely watching it right now. It's about an 8% increase over our previous fixed rate, which we were anticipating as much as a 20% increase. So it is an opportunity for us to secure that, and that would start in December before we really start seeing the winter months impact natural gas prices.
Great. Thank you. Can we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education authorize the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations to approve contracts for the procurement of natural gas and to work with NINEA Energy Advisors to elect and designate the price terms of such contracts for a period not to exceed 48 months.
I'll second.
Motion made by Dr. Henry, and second by Ms. Troutman. Are there any comments from the board?
I'll just do one.
Go
Like,
ahead.
this is one of my favorite presentations from last month. I mean, like, I'm kind of obsessed with this now, and I really appreciate, I really appreciate you taking us on this journey and just finding ways to better utilize taxpayer funds in our buildings and across the district. So I really appreciate this, so thank you very much. And I really am obsessed by it. That and the bidding, the whole
It's a
bidding, yeah.
fascinating topic, yeah. So, yeah. And just a good segue to remind, we did have lengthy discussion about this in a formal presentation last month, and so it's not brand new to the board, which is why it's on the action item list. Any other comments from the board? All right, then we'll call the vote.
Dr. Henry?
Yes.
Mrs. Troutman?
Yes.
Mrs. Assaf?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Bresnahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hostler?
Yes.
Mrs. Arvanites?
Yes, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Motion passes. Next, we'll turn it over to Dr. Campbell for Superintendent Communications.
So my first announcement and update is a friendly reminder that our entire community is invited to join myself and our amazing Board of Education next week, October 30th, for the State of the District, which will take place at Lincoln Elementary School. We are really excited to share some of the progress that has been made across our district, reflective of last year. We've started that conversation tonight at our Committee of the Whole, and we look forward to sharing this information with our community on the 30th. There is one slight adjustment. During the Committee of the Whole, I mentioned that ISB will release on the 30th and not the 30th, or did I say the 31st? And it will be on the 30th. Is that correct?
That is
Okay,
correct.
thank you to my team. So we look forward to sharing that information and with our community as it will be released that evening day on the 30th. It's coming out on the 30th, guys. That's the bottom line, okay? Not the 31st. We don't know when, but it's going to be the 30th, and we're going to talk about it at 7 p.m. Meet me there at Lincoln Elementary, okay? We also would love to hear from our community in terms of what they expect. We definitely have a very robust presentation as we have in the past. But if you go to our website, there actually is a pop-up for community members and parents, just to give us some insight and information in terms of what they would love to hear about, what they look forward to hearing about. And we want to continue that two-way communication and be responsive in case there's individuals that would like to share that with us, that feedback with us. At this time, I'm going to ask my colleague, Ms. Lyons, to share a really, really exciting update in our efforts of continuous improvement. We have continued to make strides and progress at York High School. The work is continuing, and we are really excited about this new adventure that we are headed in, and I've asked Ms. Lyons to share a little bit about that.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Campbell. So last year, the York High School leadership team came together for a series of analysis, reflection, and learning focused on identifying opportunities for improvement needed to elevate instructional programming practices and student outcomes, specifically in ninth grade English. This year, the learning has expanded to include all ninth grade English teachers, coaches, and administrators. This team has focused specifically on evaluating the current English curriculum and York ninth graders' experiences with complex texts and tasks that meet grade level standards. As part of this process, the English 9 team utilized the Instructional Materials Evaluation Tool, also referred to as IMET, developed by Achieve the Core, to evaluate current materials. This evaluation process included an analysis of the ninth grade English anchor texts and their appropriate level of complexity as defined by the standards and according to the quantitative and qualitative demands of the grade level. Additionally, anchor texts and supplemental texts were evaluated to ensure that they were worthy of especially careful reading, contain rich academic language, and include a mix of informational text and literature. Based on this evaluation, the York ninth grade English team has identified an opportunity to increase the complexity of anchor texts and tasks for second semester. To support this, the ninth grade English teachers unanimously agreed to utilize materials and resources from the Odell High School Literacy Program. This experience of executing an Odell unit will allow for the English 9 team to provide all students with high-quality, complex texts and tasks, while also encouraging teachers to reflect on future steps needed to improve instructional programming and practices. As you approved last year, so you may be familiar with that word Odell, Odell is also currently utilized in our 8th grade REACH English programming. Thank you.
I'm glad you added that because I was like, what's Odell? Sorry. We've approved a lot of curriculum recently in the recent years, and yes, okay, that sounds exciting. So second semester, and maybe we'll hear something about how that might have gone later on in the spring. Great. Go ahead, Courtney.
No, I'm just like, so I'm just so excited, like, so, you know, like, but, so you're basically saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, which I know you guys are really good at doing, when I am, rightfully, but, so the 9th grade teachers have recognized that this 9th grade class of students, 9 and 9H students, are successfully conquering the curriculum, so they're upping the ante. Like they're taking the rigor to the next level. That is so exciting. I'm
That
sorry,
is.
I'm being a dork.
You're not being a dork. Most people don't know the word dork anymore. You know that? Kids don't even know what that is.
I'm glad that, not only were you excited about the natural gas presentation, but now we're actually talking about something that directly correlates to the student experience, which is also really exciting to hear that you're excited
If we
about.
save money on spending of our cost of natural gas, then we will be able to put more resources to our student curriculum. So it's all big. Yes, natural gas and student achievement. That's
your thing. I love that. Well, thank you. Thanks for the comments. It is good. It's big. It's awesome. Yeah, very good.
And I really, again, we shared during the committee of the whole that we're on a multi-year improvement process. And so I know this board also has several years ago received feedback about our journey to review curricular resources and really think about our instructional practices to meet the needs. And so that through line, we are proud of the progress that we've made, but we also recognize that there's still opportunities. But what's most important is that staff members are recognizing that and taking the initiative in leaning into those opportunities, which is really, really exciting.
Well, and to pivot mid-year, like pivot halfway through the school year. I mean, I'm just.
It's really good.
Very
Trying
happy.
something new. Yeah. Great. Thanks.
You're welcome. And so now it's Tanya Daniels.
Tanya. You had a segue. We rolled out the carpet for you, the red carpet.
I mean, upbeat music should precede anything I say. So one of our recent Hall Pass videos that Dr. Campbell did was with our new girls flag football team, where there were a couple of the players along with the coach, and she had an opportunity to talk to them about the significance of bringing this sport to York and kind of just what it means to them to be able to have this and to see this at York. So I just wanted to share this video with you. Oh, it's hold on, Rudy. Yeah, I didn't realize it's 6 minutes, so we won't play the whole thing. We're just going to play the first part. But if you go to the district's YouTube page and hit playlists and go to the Hall Pass series, you can watch the full video there.
Hello, community, and welcome to this edition of Hall Pass. I'm standing right here on York's football stadium with our head coach of our girls flag football team, Coach Bolt. Welcome to this edition of Hall Pass.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I am also standing with Senior Josie, Junior Claire, two players on the girls flag football team, correct?
Yes.
Welcome to this edition of Hall Pass. So first, I'm curious, this is our inaugural year, our first year of it being considered an actual varsity sport, moving from a team. Can you talk to me a little bit about the culture and the energy around this new sport here for us here at York?
Yeah, absolutely. Energy is high, excitement is high. I think the girls are excited. The fans have been excited. Like it's a new thing for everyone to kind of try out and see if it's for them. Regarding the culture, we're trying to build commitment. We're trying to build discipline. Last year, the goal was to have fun, learn the game, and compete with one another.
Okay.
And now this year, we're making sure that we build commitment, discipline, have a positive attitude on the football field, and just continue to learn the game and have some fun while we're out here.
Awesome. So I'm hearing some commitment, I'm hearing having some fun, learning the game, all of those good things. So ladies, can you share with me why were you interested in being a part of this sport?
Well, me and my friends would always play football in the backyard, or I'd play with my family, but we were never able to compete competitively and actually play it as a sport. So when we had the opportunity to have it here at York and it be a first year, I knew right away that I wanted to play because I always enjoyed it.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Is that it for communication? Awesome, okay. Board communication, do any board members have anything to present or share with the full board? I didn't think so, but we can double check. All right. Upcoming meetings, November 5th, 2025. We have a Finance and Operations Committee meeting at 5:30 p.m. November 18th, 2025, a regular Board of Ed meeting at 7 p.m. Both meetings will take place here at District 205 Center in these rooms, 215, 16, and 17. And with that, it is 7:48, and we are adjourned.